Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Janmadhyasya Yatonmayaditartasya Artheshvabhignaswarat Teni Brahma Rudhaya Adikaviye Namaha Mukhyantiyam Surayah Tejo Varimrudam Yatha Vinimayah Yatratru Sargo Mrisha Dhamna Svena Sada Nirastakuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi. So in the last session we were discussing about the discussion between Vidura and Maitreya. So the knowledge that is transferred by Sri Krishna to Uddhava, then to Maitreya, then it is now being transferred to Vidura. So Vidura has showing a lot of interest and asking the questions. Some of the questions are similar to what Parikshitra was asking with Shukamuni. Now this is the Shukamuni is referring to the discussion what happened between Maitreya and Vidura. So he has Vidura has during this discussion they have come to a point, the creation of the how the Srushti Kriya happens, what are the reasons that Bhagavan wants to create the Srushti, and then there are couple of things, how do I understand, or like so many questions that Vidura is asking, why it happens, why how do I understand these things. Then he's also asking questions related to the time calculation. How does it work? Why did Brahma create the this earth and all those? Why are we being created? Do we have the free will? All those things we discussed in the last session. So while contemplating on these things, I was thinking, how do we relate to understand some of the principles? So I come across one example that when I was thinking, so I will share that with you. The one kalpa that we talked about is a half day of Brahma, that is the daytime of Brahma. In another kalpa, that means Brahma's night, the pralaya happens and all the that being created will be gone. Then when he wakes up in the morning next day, another kalpa starts. So kalpa is a time unit of Brahma's half day. We'll come to that part of the. I think I shared a slide in WhatsApp. It has all the calculations very well put together, and also details are there. Anyway, for the understanding purposes, I was thinking of it is a day of Brahma, in a day in life of Brahma can be parallelly compared with a day in life of our life. So assume that we sleep in the night, everything is turned off, light is turned off, everything is off, nothing exists. We are deep in sleep, which is oneness with the nature, that is oneness with Bhagavan. We are with Bhagavan at that time. So when we wake up in the morning, we have not seen presence of the energy, but we turn on the light. When you go to the, maybe first you go to brush teeth, then you go to the bathroom, right? You turn on the light, bulb lights up. Then you go to some other place, you may turn on the fan, again fan turns on. You touch this your remote TV turns on. Like that, everything gets turned on by an unseen energy, which is the electrical current, which we have not seen, but it is always there. When we were sleeping, that current was existing, but it was not manifested. Only when we put the switch, that too, whatever that we want, it is not you put the light and it turns on the fan, right? You deliberately turned on the light, deliberately turned on the fan. So you know that you can turn on the things, dishwasher, washing machine, anything, all the appliances in the world that can be turned on by this energy, electrical energy, which you cannot see, even you don't dare to touch also. So if we compare this energy, the existence of something which is omnipresent and which is omnipotent. Okay, now I'm considering only this example. Electrical energy cannot be said as omnipotent or omnipresent, but for the context purpose, only even in our house, in our life, we can compare that with the energy that creates and that destroys, but still exists. It exists in everywhere, like in the bulb, in the fan, in everywhere, but cannot be seen, cannot be touched. So that's why I understand, okay, Brahma's creation must be like that. He went into slumber for one kalpa, then he wakes up and he turns on all the things. That's what happened. So now we also talked in Vidura, Maitreya talks to Vidura about this is not happening only one. There are multiple such universes. He gives the dimension of the universe that we live. This is the smallest universe he talks about. I'll read out that what is the miles, number of miles, the width and breadth of the our universe, which is the smallest one. So he talks about that, the dimension of that. He talks about the time also. And Vidura, Maitreya says, during each kalpa, only out of 14 lokas, only 3 lokas gets destroyed and created. Bhur, Bhuha, Swaha, we talk about, right? So that includes the earth. And then all the Devata Gana, all the things that Bhagavan created, the tattvas, 24 tattvas, Mahat tattva, Ahankar tattva, that still remains. It is a cyclic in nature. First, kalpa is a cyclic in nature. Then Mahakalpa, that is the each breath of Mahavishnu, right? Mahakalpa will have 100 years of Brahma. 100 years of Brahma is one Mahakalpa, and half day of Brahma is one Kalpa. Each half day of Brahma has 71 Manvantaras. Each 71 cycles of Manvantaras. Each Manvantara has so many cycles of Chaturyugas. Each Chaturyuga has 4 yugas. Like that, it comes to a point where it is a Kali Yuga has so many number of years, right? We talked about that. So if you start calculating the entire thing back upwards to Brahma's half day, then Brahma's full day, there are several cycles we see. Mahakalpa is another cycle, Kalpa is a cycle, Manvantara is a cycle, Chaturyuga is a cycle. And so if you remember some acharyas mentioning this is the 28th Kali Yuga of Vaivaswata Manvantara. Vaivaswata Manvantara is the 7th Manvantara of this Kalpa. Like that they talk, right? So that's how we are in a place where at a particular time space of this. Now this is the replay. That's what one is. Janmadhyasya yataha, he is always the person who exists. Second one is, it is cyclic in nature. Then we talked about Abhimana Devatas. Every tattva he created, he has a representative deity, a god representing, god or goddess representing that. And we looked into, for Andhakara, the Durga is the one, and for Mahat Tattva, Brahma is the one, Ahankara Tattva, Shiva is the one. Like we, even for the eyes, nose, senses, everything there is the Abhimani Devata. Then we come to, during the discussion, we came to a point where Brahma was asked to start creation. Brahma did a meditation for 50 years. Then he started creating. First Srushti was Manasa Srushti. And the first of them is the Avidya got created. We talked about 5 Avidyas. If you remember those 5 Avidyas, then one is Tamasu, Moha, Mahamoha, Tamishra, Andhatamishra. And also we mentioned that there are 5 Devatas responsible for that: Naga, Kurma, Krukala, Devadatta and Dhananjaya. Then Bhagavan is in the form of 5 more Rupas, and he is existing in those Devasas and create and makes them act. Like Bhagavan is in all the things, like all the Devatas, all the human beings, all the atoms, everywhere. So he is the one who is making all the things act, and that is he is the cause of the cause. That's what we discussed. Now when we came to Avidya, the question of Vidura was, why this Avidya is created, what happens? Then there was an explanation talking about Avidya is there to filter out the souls that go to Andhatamas, souls that go to Moksha, souls that are become Nitya Samsari kind of things. Now the question is, how a good soul cannot be influenced by Avidya? How do I escape from this influence of Moha, Mahamoha, all those things, right? Tamas. When we look into that, what are those things? Is one is ignorance, second one is the misunderstanding, third one is the uh, um, third one is the what I understand is the only right thing, that ego. Then the third, another one is the anger, get angry on other person if he says your understanding is wrong. Then kill the person if he is opposing to you, kind of. These are the slowly getting into the level of krodha and dvesha, kind of thing. So how a normal soul can get out of this avidya which is created, which is influencing all over the place, right? So then they talk about, there is a way, there are 5 rupas of Mahavishnu in the form of respective deity. Like, then I was trying to remember the Sandhya Vandana mantram at that time. We do that. What is but at that time I did not remember. Now I happen to refer back. So this is nothing but nyasas. If you guys doing Sandhya Vandana, you know Karanyasa and Anganyasa. There is a separate discussion why we do nyasas also, right? It is also yogic techniques. But limiting to our discussion about how we get rid of this avidya effect, influence on us, is doing Anganyasa. Typically, we do this nyasas, Anganyasa or Karanyasa. It is a very important ritual that is associated with changing the chanting the mantras. It is typically done to invoke the presence of that particular deity, that is particular devata in that part of the body. For example, we say in case of the Anganyasa, we say Om Kruddolkaya Rudhaya Namaha, Om Maholkaya Sirase Namaha, Sirase Swaha, Om Virolkaya Shikhaya Aushat. And we keep touching Rudhaya, we keep touching head, then the Shikha, that is the part where they leave this hair for the Shikha. Then Ruddholkaya Kavachaya Hum, that means we touch the chest. Then Sahasrolkaya Astraya Fat, that means we move around the head, like all the 4 directions, and then we clap. So we do this before we do the Ashtakshari mantra japa. This is to be done to invoke, to get purified. That means every day we are thinking there is a avidya which can influence us, and we want to avoid that. That means in Hinduism, the ritual is made so clear that we should be aware of what we get influenced by. And when we are aware of that, then we will not be, it is a less chance that we get influenced. Like for corona, we know corona is there, but we want to keep the distance, right? Social distance to avoid. Same thing we need to do on daily basis. Now question may come, what women should do? They are not doing Sandhya Vandana, right? That is a simple thing. Women are less prone to such things. They, by nature, they are more affectionate. By nature, they are the mother. So 99%, most of the times it is the men who are the egoistic, who do the dvesha and all those things. Women are less influenced, but it doesn't mean that they don't get influenced. But the rituals for that is knowing that there are 5 rupas of Bhagavan that are responsible for this, and remembering him that. In case of our Harikatamrita Sara, so chapter 6, Sandhi 6, there is a small poem that Jagannath Dasura has written. He talks about 5 ವಿದ್ಯೆಗಳೊಳಗೆ ಇಹನಾಗಾದಿಗಳ ಅಧಿಷ್ಠಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀಧವನು ಕೃದ್ದೋಲ್ಕ ಮೊದಲಾದ 5 ರೂಪಗಳ ಧರಿಸಿ ಸಜ್ಜನರ ಅವಿದ್ಯವ ಛೇದಿಸುವ, ತಾಮಸರಿಗೆ ಅಜ್ಞಾನಾದಿಗಳ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಅವರವರ ಸಾಧನೆಗೆ ಮಾಡಿಸುವ. This is how the anusandhana should happen. If women are not doing the Sandhya Vandana, if you know this poem exists in Harikatha Amritasara, understand Bhagavan's 5, Vishnu's 5 rupas, Kruddolka and Kruddolkadi, 5 different rupas. So that's how he tries to help us be away from the 5 avidyas. That is the escape. So this was the one thing I had left explaining that time. So now when it comes to the implementation, how we do? one example I'll tell and then move on to the next portion that we need to discuss today. So when I got married, I there was the early first 2 3 months of time we moved around all over Karnataka and other places, and then we came to this one Tirupati. But during that 3 4 months time, the new couple, they love each other a lot, and then there will be difference and wasting time in anger and not talking things. So when that is the time when we were in Tirupati, and so for some reason there was a difference, and I felt we were wasting time if we get angry and continue it. Then I told my wife, this is see, one of the anusandhana I'm talking about. I told my wife, whenever we get there, nothing can stop us get angry, but when we get angry, we shall think of this place, this Tirupati, where we decided not to get angry. So if you get angry, you tell me that Venkatesha, then I will know, okay, we decided not to get angry. If you get angry, I will mention that. That way, there is nothing stops, but we will not continue in that anger for long. So we can make our life more happier by recognizing that anger and getting rid of it. So yet this worked out well. We do get angry on each other, but it won't stay for not even a minute or two, because we continuously monitor that. Okay, we did get, so it is not. Then we decide who is the mistake, why it happened, all those things. Then we can avoid that kind of thing. Like the anger is one of the 5 avidyas, right? So like that, we can bring those things in our lives. The reason I explained this is how one can do anusandhana. So another anusandhana I do is whenever there is a count of 10, right? For example, Gayatri Japa. If I need to count, I don't count it as 1, 2, 3. I count it as Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narasimha, like that. I don't say loudly outside, but I say in my mind, I bring those Matsya Avatara, Kurma Avatara. That means when I first Gayatri Japa is done, Matsya is done, second is Kurma is done. Like that, I go through all the 10 avatars when I'm chanting through the Gayatri Mantra. Any count we do, we can adopt such anusandhana. These are the small tips that we can. Of course, all of you will be having different ways of remembering the things, remembering somebody's number, all those things. We have references. Sometimes we remember the things by singing, right? In fact, in the US, when they teach for the kindergarten kids to remember all the 50 states, there is a song they sing, as if this it has all the Alabama, Alaska kind of thing. So they can say 50 states. So that's the anusandhana we have to do, especially in the spiritual path, to recognize the Janmadhyasya Yataha, the existence of the Bhagavan in always with us, always in our actions and all those things. So these are some examples to understand. Now, coming back to the story part, Maitreya is explaining Brahma did a penance for 50 years, and then he started Avidya creation. Then he tried to do Manasa creation. He created Marichi, Atri, Angirasa, Pulastya, then Narada, Daksha Prajapati, Vasishtha, Bhrugu. So many soft guys. When I say soft, it is a Manas creation, right? Then he started creating from his body parts. Then also that is again I talked about biology studies, asexual and sexual creation, and all those things, right? The cell division happens. So you can compare with that with the what is explained in Bhagavatam. Now it comes to a point, Bhagavan decides, okay, I'll separate into two parts. Left hand becomes Shatarupa Devi, left part becomes Shatarupa Devi, right part becomes Manu, the first man. That is the soul which is in the collection of all the souls that are existing eternal, that are existing inside Bhagavan's Udara. He picks only some of them. So some come from Manavagana, some from Devata Gana, some come from Rakshas, some come from Gandharvas, Pitruganas. Like that, so many ganas are there, so many groups of souls are there. Out of them, there some are Mukti Yogaru, some are Andhatamas Yogaru, some are Nitya Samsarigaru, kind of combination. One is mango, one is orange, one is apple, like that, different seeds. So when he picks up Manava, then first Manava is born is this Manu. So in his half day of life, 71 such things should happen. The 14, there are total 14 Manvantaras. So each Manvantara is 1000 cycles of Chaturyugas. You can calculate 14 into 1000, 14 into 71, 999 or something, it comes like, okay. Yeah, every calculation is given in that pamphlet. So now the Manu, current Manu is Vaivaswata Manu. Vaivaswata Manu is born, and then Shatarasu, those, there are two couples. That is the Mithuna Srushti starts. Mithuna Srushti happens only on the earth. So then now there is a lookout for the earth. Then I talked about Varahavatar. Maybe we can discuss Varahavatar, why it happened, how many times it happened. Is there any reference to that in the physics, that cosmology kind of thing? We can do that. But now coming to the another question of Vidura, who is asking how the time calculated. Is the time and space? Now the question comes to the, when Bhagavan decides to create the Srishti, there was nothing. Then the Srishti when the Srishti happens, is the Big Bang theory the time created that time, and all those things. If you are interested in learning about the relationship between this time and space from the scientific point of view, you can look into the time space theory by Einstein. That is relativity theory also they called, how they are correlated. So now he starts explaining in the 11th chapter. He starts, Maitreya starts talking about how the time is calculated and what does it mean. There are around 50 such slokas. I could take only few of them to explain, which I felt are interesting. It's very interesting that this Vedic concept is very, very amazing. They knew universe made of atoms. They even knew that how to calculate the time based on the atom, that time that takes to for atoms to combine with each other. So these are the slokas that exist in Bhagavata. I'm really, and I do not know why any scientist did not look into this, and why they did not uncover. Maybe they must have done, maybe I do not know, right? Somebody must have done the research. Anyways, Bhagavata has lot of such things. They seem to be very, very advanced scientists that time. So recently I happened to come across a video that I shared with Sunil also. There is one Karnataka guy talks about power generation using completely based on Purusha Sukta. Purusha Sukta. He says that Purusha Sukta is not just a Sukta talking about Mahavishnu. It has all the coded information about how a power generation can happen. And recently they started that power generation in Bengaluru. It is a $4 billion investment from foreign companies. That includes UK, France, and Germany, and some other countries. That the technology seems to be very amazing. They already started generation. If that you come across that video, please look at it very, very carefully. Though it looks like a Purusha Sukta we chant every day, but we do not know. But somebody has decoded. Some doctor has the physics doctorate guy has decoded. They created that information. So what I mean to say is, just I'm justifying my statement that the Vedic time people were very advanced scientists, but they found a different approach on documenting the things in the form of maybe coded way of this Purusha Sukta and other things. And also I come across another small TED talk where they talk about 27 nakshatras, and Chandra is, all 27 nakshatras are wives of Chandra, but Chandra is very more, this is the TED talk, you can look into that. more affectionate towards one wife, that is called Rohini. So this guy started looking at why out of 27 nakshatras, Chandra is more affectionate towards Rohini. Uh, he did the studies every 15 days when the Chandra moves to the different places. In a year, he will meet all the nakshatras, 27 nakshatras. But only in case of Rohini, it comes twice. This information they quoted in the form of a story where the Chandra has 27 wives and one wife is very familiar, very affectionate to him. He loves her more, kind of thing. So that kind of information is a coded information is there in all the Veda mantras and Bhagavata Purana and all those things. So that's what my point I wanted to make here. They talk about the atom is the minute form of the eternal time. They make this statement in Bhagavat. And another sloka says, atoms are ultimate state of the manifest universe. When they stay in their own forms without forming different bodies, they are called unlimited oneness. That is, we talk about this the ocean, and in which Bhagavan was sleeping. It is ocean of atoms, I can say. There are certainly different bodies in the physical forms, but the atom themselves form the complete manifestation. This is the sentence, direct translation of one of these slokas. Time and space are two correlative terms. This is the statement made in Bhagavatam, which is also made by Einstein. And then there was a difference between Einstein theory and Newton theory. All those things, if you have studied physics, you know why there was a difference. And observer and the happening, there is beautiful videos on the internet you can find how they talk about time space things. Time is measured in terms of again, this is Bhagavata statement, time is measured in terms of covering certain space of atoms. They say the first unit of the time, the smallest second, 1,000th of that is my millisecond, they measure the how much time sun takes to cross that one atom space. The time space are two correlative terms. There is time is measured in terms of its covering certain spaces of the atoms. Standard time is calculated in terms of movement of the sun. The time covered by sun in passing over an atom is calculated as atomic time. This is Bhagavata Shloka I am talking about. The division of the gross time is calculated in several ways. Two atoms make one double atom, three double atoms make, they called Thruti. And atoms make hexatom. This hexatom is visible. This is written in Bhagavatam again. Combination of 6 atoms forms a hexatom. Hexatom can be seen in the window light, the dust particles moving around. They talk about this also. So like this, they mention the time is calculated this way, and there are Thrasarenu, that is one Thruti, 3 Thrasarenu forms one Thruti, and 100 Thrutis form one Veda, and 3 Vedas form one Lava, and 3 Lavas form one Nimisha, and 3 Nimisha form one Kshana, and 5 Kshana form one Kasta, then 15 Kasta form one Laghu, then 15 Laghu form one Nadika, and 2 Nadikas form Murta. Then like that they keep on going about Masa, that is the 5th day, month, year, Manvantara, and all that is all given in that the sheet I sent you. I don't want to read those things because it is obvious, it is given in there. Time duration needed for the integration of again there is another unit they talk about, so let us not go there. Integration of 2 atoms and all those. So totally scientific information in chapter 11 about the time. So now the question comes, the relativity, Brahma's age is, we are talking about Brahma's half day is our kalpa. Our kalpa is what, 4.3 billion years or something like that. So how do I know why Brahma why it happens like that? Just I was thinking about another example in the form of space. Again, I took this example from that grand design book from Stephen Hawking's. To explain this principle, like he says, if the observer is standing on the earth, and if the aeroplane is flying over the top of the head, observer is here, there is one more observer in the flight, and he gets up in the flight and walks 10 steps. For him, he traveled only 10 steps, but for the observer in the ground on the earth, he must have traveled more than 100 miles or maybe 50 miles, depending on the speed of the aeroplane. So the distance traveled by the another observer in space in the aeroplane is small. For the observer in the earth, it is almost 100 years, right? So like that, there is so much of relativity we see. That is the reason that can be explained why Brahma's a half day is equal to one kalpa for us, and Vishnu's one breath is one mahakalpa for us. And they talk about when the pralaya happens, when each pralaya happens, what happens, right? These are all small, whatever the things happening now, the corona thing, or maybe the disasters happened in Houston, that a lot of flooding happens, and all those are part of the cycle. Some cycles, the nature takes care of the creation, destruction of the things. So some are minute, which we cannot observe. Some are observable. For example, you when we go to movie, we watch a complete lifetime of a actor. Like he takes birth and he fights and he loves and fights again and he dies after maybe he lives happily after ever. We see 60 or 70 years of entire movie in 2 hours. Again, it is relativity, right? That's what must be happening in the realm of other above the earth. So I have a doubt. Maybe it may be part of the reason I got this doubt is some of the persons who listened to my last week's I shared with somebody. Their question was, you are saying Brahma started creating, then also you are saying the Hiranyaksha was already there. Who created Hiranyaksha? And how come Jaya Vijaya were there when nobody was there? Right? This is a question, very good question. So, but when we are talking about Brahma's creation is a half day, that means there existed somebody else who were created in the past. Jaya Vijaya maybe from the previous kalpas, maybe previous manvantaras, or Hiranyaksha must be from the previous manvantara. We are looking at only small portion, which looks like a linear thing for us, but it has in so when it comes to Varahavtara, in the next session we look at Varahavtara. They say happened twice. Once in the early part of the kalpa, second one in the early part of our manvantara, that is Vaivasvat manvantara. So we can look at that when we come to the story of Diti Devi and Kashyap Rishi. So like this, so much information that is covered in Bhagavata. Especially we should spend a lot of time on that to understand. And Maitreya also talks about the dimension of the universe. He says our universe is the smallest with a diameter of 4 billion miles. They talk about in this, what is that called? There is different units they call, but I converted that into the miles. It is, they say it is diameter of the entire universe is 4 billion miles, and life span of the our universe is 311.04 trillion years. And then that is one inhalation of Bhagavat Vishnu. When he inhales, the world get created. When he exhales, world get destroyed. That is it is not the physical destruction. It is how the universe Big Bang happens, and then everything goes back into the black hole kind of concepts. The physics people will know this, how the universe is already moving back in the opposite direction, when one day it will collapse and nothing will be there. The black hole will be created again at some after some time. It again Big Bang happens, and so that's the way our observers, scientists, are observing it in the scientific way. But Bhagavata is explaining this in a different way. That is the presence of the energy. At certain point, both science and spiritual things may meet in a different direction, coming in the different direction. There are cycles of creations for every 311.04 trillion years. And we talk about lifespan of universe is directly related to the lifespan of the Brahma. He is the first living being that in our three Bhur Bhuva Swaha lokas. Brahma has 100 years, that is called Mahakalpa. That is and each kalpa is 12 hours of. This is all explained, and the dimensions, and what is the depth of Patala Loka, and how much is there is a Salila Jala is there, which is completely dark. That's where Hiranyaksha submerged these things in the ocean. Then Mahavishnu came as a pig form, and he lifted it. So all these things explained, and the handout I gave, it has all the details. If you want to go through. If you have any questions, we can discuss it again in the next discussion. I will go with start with how Jaya Vijaya. Of course, we didn't discuss about that in the last this one. These Sanaka, Sananda, the four brothers who decided not to participate in the creation. They knew it has an attachment that will drive them into the worldly matter, that will drive away from spirituality. When you drive away from the spirituality, when we start doing the things in the materialistic world, there is bound to be dukkha. Though some things look good for us, but it won't remain for long. There is always a sukha has followed by dukkha. And best example, of course, just for joke, I am telling, the guy who is not married is willing to marry, want to enjoy the life. He doesn't know the dukkha starts there. Guy or girl, okay, the dukkha starts there. Then he has to build a home. Then he has to buy a car. Then that car should be better than somebody else's car. Like that, it takes on a ride for. So, but these Sanaka Sananda, the brothers, they decided okay not to take part in that. Not only Sanaka and four brothers, these are the elevated souls. They knew what is going to happen, so they said that we don't want. Similar thing happened with Buddha also. Buddha realized somehow he came to know he has born 80 times so far, and every time he takes birth, he is going through a lot of sorrow. Though some things give pleasure, but they are not permanent. So that's why Buddha formed the Buddhism. He said Anischa, everything is impermanent, and he did not do anything. When he decided, when Dhanodaya happened to him, he felt okay, I should not do anything, and he kept silent. He did not do much, which will result into a karma. He doesn't want to get another karma which will result into the rebirth. Same story, similar story is available. This is also Bhagavata story. Similar story is available about Jada Bharata, who takes Bharata Chakravarti, who takes birth as some sannyasi. Then he takes birth as a deer, because he started loving a deer in the past life as a pet. Because of that, he takes birth as a deer. Then he decides, okay, nothing doing. Then he takes birth as Jada Bharata. Then he escapes from this cycle. So same thing what Sanaka Sananda, the brothers did, and they went to Mahavishnu. They were yet to enter, but they were stopped by, this story. I don't have to make it elaborate. You must have heard it several times. Then Bhurgurushi comes and he gives a shapa. The question now, I hope there is no question why Bhurgurushi was existed there before Brahma's creation. This guy may be from the past. kalpas. The devatas are always after each manvantara, they don't vanish. They will be there. They will be there in the different realm. When I say realm, it is other than Earth. There are so many multiverses we talked about. Science also agrees that it is not only the one universe. There are multiverses. That's what M type of the grand design I was talking to you last week. The book from Stephen Hawking, who talks about, but it is only scientific. It has nothing to do with our Purana or anything. So multiverses are there. These guys are there. So they appear whenever they need. I believe Matsyavatara, Kurmavatara, Varahavatara, Narasimhavatara must have happened not on the earth. They must have happened in the another world, since in the Satya Yuga and the Dwapara Yuga, there is a connection between the human being and the devatas. They bring the information, they go to meditation, bring that information. All those things happen. That's how they know. They documented it in the form of stories. So when we get into deep into these such things, we can, each individual like me or you guys, maybe some of you already know much more information how the things happen, especially when the person gets they call self-realization, right? They get the clarity of such things. I want to make sure the self-realization is different than God realization. Most of our dasas had this self-realization. That's what I feel. The way they write the poems and other things, it shows that they had some self-realization kind of. They are also called aparokshadnanigalu in our philosophical terms. So aparokshadnani exists in every, now also a lot of such people may be existing, but they don't speak, they don't come out. Some people come and speak. All those things happen. So anyways, it is all individuals' responsibility. My responsibility is to evolve myself. Your responsibility is to evolve. During this evolution process, nature will open up and give the answers to some questions like this. That's what we understand. So coming to further references, especially for the young adults, you may want to watch two movies. One is called Interstellar. How there exists, when a person travels in the speed of light, what happens? This is a proven theory, right? People who are in the space shuttle, they get aged very less compared to us on the earth. That doesn't mean that if you are in a basement you age faster, because that is not comparable. But if you compare with bigger, longer distances, yes, if one person travels at a much faster speed, aging process slows down. The Interstellar story talks about that. That will give the answer in your Bhagavata's questions, right? It may be because of that. When the devatas come, still they look young, because they are in the different world, different realm. There is one more funny movie that I liked, that is called Isn't It Romantic? This recent movie has come. That also talks about getting into some different world and experience there and come back and learn and do the things. If you watch that movie in that way, you get this kind of information. If you watch that movie as an entertainment, you will not get. So don't blame me if you don't get what I'm asking you to look into that. It's all individual, what Bhagavan makes you to get the things. So these are the two references I wanted to talk. So one more thing is, if anybody interested in physics, Google for space time, then you will get a lot of videos. Some videos really explain how the 4-dimension fabric works, how time gets curved depending on the space, how it becomes small. All those things are there. It is out of interest, you can study. But my takeaway here is Bhagavata has all that information in the different way of explanation. Please look into that, and really it makes you feel really good about the way that is communicated in Bhagavata. So I will stop here. Shri Krishnarpanamastu. If anyone has any questions, because we are at the end, no other programs after this. If you have any questions, please we can discuss, otherwise we can stop.